Why should NCAA players be paid?
I don't think anybody should be paid. I think they should have the same rights as anyone else to bargain, to be represented, that anyone else has. So they should have the right to ask for pay. The colleges should have the right to bargain in good faith with them. Right now, what happens is that by collusion, all the universities say you can't ask for pay, and if you do, it is unethical. And I'm saying that's wrong, to deprive them of rights that all the rest of us take for granted.
So the response I think you hear to this argument is twofold. One is that these are amateurs, and there's something in the spirit of amateur sports, of college sports, it would be irreversibly infected if pay was brought into it.
Yes.
And the other is that they cross-subsidize a set of other sports that are not, that are more amateur. Why don't you find those objections viable?
They're both true, but they're both evasive right to their heart. To say that amateur sports are essentially amateur misses the whole meaning of amateur, which is avocation. It's out of love. It is self-done. You can't proclaim that somebody else is amateur and that you're taking the money. You've got $7 million coaches. You've got $1 million assistant coaches. And you've got this vast Taj Mahal athletic complex is spreading, all skimmed off of the talent and labor of athletes who are forcibly unpaid. They are declared amateur. They have no vote in that. In that sense, it's a false use of the word amateur. It's very convenient, and people like to think of it, that it has a rosy purity, amateur, but amateur has another meaning too. Amateur meaning you don't know what you're doing, you're an amateur. And I think they're using that ambiguity to try to take advantage of the athletes.
So you're a historian, you come at this as a historian. Talk me through a little bit how we got to the expectation that you would have these sports be unpaid, how we got to the idea that there's this very sharp distinction between amateur college sports and professional paid sports.
Sports started off as an avocation initiated by the students. For the first 50 years of collegiate sports, students scheduled their own games. They hired their own coaches. Harvard Stadium was built in 1903 without a nickel from Harvard. It was all built by alumni. Students controlled it, but then the universities moved in, took control over it, and then starting in the 50s when television came along, they started making a lot of money off of it. And it happened so slowly and so gradually that most people don't realize that there is now a fundamental difference between the university, where the university is giving benefit to the students and the students are there learning and soaking it up, and big-time college sports where the athletes who are students are delivering enormous amount, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to the schools. A lot of this has happened by habit, and it's happened slowly, but in fact, this is a wholly separate thing. It has very little to do with the academic mission of the place. It's a money-making engine that's taking advantage of the students.
And this isn't, at this point, just an argument. There is a court case that I believe you're a witness in.
Yes.
Walk me through a little bit about of the key issue there.
The lawsuit is basically an antitrust case. Can the universities band together and take the images in sports from these athletes and use them in perpetuity, even after they leave school, and still sell video games of star players like Bill Russell, who's one of the plaintiffs? You know, he played 60 years ago. But his image is still used. And the NCAA argument is that they were amateurs then, and they became amateurs in perpetuity, so that players have no image rights. They have no rights in the use of their image forever. And that case is about to come to trial now, strictly speaking about ex-players, but it also applies to, or at least could, this is one of the issues at trial, as to whether it applies to the rights of current players to get a piece of, to be able to bargain if people are selling their jersey, if people are selling their image, quite apart from pay or anything. Can they take those video rights, property rights, talent rights, name recognition rights forever? In other words, a college athlete, if they get a Christmas card from somebody involved in professional sports or anything having to do with their own interests or advancing their interests, they're branded unethical, and so they have no individual bargaining rights. They have no due process rights. They have no. They don't even have Fifth Amendment rights. in any dispute within the NCAA. They have no right of representation or anything. All of the power in the current system, all the votes, is packed into the athletic directors and the coaches.
Well, this to me, because you read about it a lot, is one of the most insane dimensions of the system. You don't simply have something set up where the colleges do not pay the athletes. You have it set up where the colleges will not permit the athletes to profit off of their status as star athletes in any way.
Right.
They can't get dinner, they can't get transportation. I mean, for very common things, they can't take a ride across campus. I would like to better understand, when you speak to college directors, because you did a tremendous amount of reporting on this, how that dimension of it is justified.
The defenders of the system see the whole thing is going to collapse, and that if you allow them to have any bargaining rights whatsoever, that the current system that basically makes them captive will fall apart. People tend to deal with these issues by instinct. Oh, they should shut up and play, or gosh, they're not going to go pro anyway, or why should they'll get their money later. It never occurs to them that the people who are actually generating all this have no voice at all, and it doesn't seem to bother people. I had a college president, he wouldn't let me quote him on the record, tell me that his salary was probably twice what it would otherwise be because his board of trustees was embarrassed by the gap between his salary and the football coach's salary. There are these huge gaps in universities about where priorities are. And it reflects the power of the alumni. It reflects, in my view, the abdication of many faculties, college faculties, that from their essential role in the governance of the university and in managing this conflict between academics and sports.
How good of a job do these schools do educating their student athletes? And I mean primarily by these schools, the big sport powerhouses.
Well, not very well. I mean, athletes are generally, in the big sports, the money sports, are steered into certain majors. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed to take difficult majors. They're steered into certain courses where the athletic departments have cooperative relationships with the teachers. And if a teacher is too tough on an athlete, then that teacher's course will be scratched off. You'd think that the athletes would have the choice over that, but if the athletes want to play and the athletes want to keep their scholarships, they have no independent recourse here.
So one of the analogies you've used in this discussion is to the plantation. Mm-hmm. Explain that a bit. Walk me through that idea.
Well, the plantation is an area in which supervisors supervise harvest the labor and value from people who have lesser rights than they do, who are lower in the food chain than they are. Colonialism may be even a better example. In old European colonialism around the world that prevailed from the mid-19th to 20th century, is that not only would you own and harvest the work of the colonials, but you would say that you were doing it for their own good to bring them around to civilization. And in that sense, I think college sports are like that, because the money is controlled by the people who are supervising but not actually performing. Nobody disputes that the producers of the value are the players, because that's where the camera is pointed. Right. The camera is pointed on these athletes who are not amateurs. Nobody wants to see an amateurish performance in the sense of not very good. Right. The camera is pointed there, and if you think the coach is really deserving of all the money, see how long you can point the camera at the coach during a Final Four basketball game.